In the 18th century France, there was a well-known three-estate system made up of nobles, clergy, and the peasants and bourgeois. Out of 25 million people that lived in the country, 23 million belonged to the third estate. They lived in poor conditions. Most of them had to throw and produce their own food. Unfortunately, they could not do that because there was a huge drought the year before the revolution. Also, they were the only citizens that were obligated to pay the taxes. On top of all that, the king increased the prices in order to get the country out of the financial crisis. The third estate realized they can no longer live in such circumstances. The demonstration started and the revolution began. But what would have happened if the year 1788 was full of rain?
I'm calling the working class to get on the streets and fight for justice. Last year we were lucky enough to have a huge amount of rain that was crucial for the growth of our vegetables and fruits. Incomes were enormous. We have never worked this hard. The king took advantage of that and raised the taxes to get the country back on its feet, as he couldn't have done it with his own money. Instead, he chose to take from the poor. Now let's get back at him and take his country.
Meanwhile, at the king's palace.
Your Highness, we might have a problem.
What would it be?
People are on streets protesting.
Protesting, you said. Why would anyone be protesting?
Even though you've done so much for this country, sir, those peasants always find some things to be ungrateful for.
The king walks to the balcony and opens up the curtain. The terror he saw made him realize that people won't stand down. Streets were flooded with hundreds of thousands of them. Everything was on fire. Louis had no other choice but to evacuate.
Jacques, start packing, we are going at midnight.
Louis and his inner circle ran away, leaving the country in total mess without a leader. A few days later, a huge civil war began. The first and second estate wanted to rule the country together, while the third estate thought that since there was 23 million of them, it was only rational that they would be the rulers. A week later, the war was finished with massive debts, and peasants won. The representatives of the three estates met up in Versailles.
We, the clergy, give our blessings to the people of the first estate. As long as they don't interfere in the business of our church, we will respect and follow their choices.
Even though my people and I don't agree with the third estate being the leader of the country, we have no other opinion but to accept it. The winner of the war must be the leader of the country.
I assure that your place in society won't change drastically. Your people will have to pay taxes, while mine won't. It is only fair that the rich give away.
We will be following the rules that you, Mary, have started. If a single word in them changes, my people have the right to refuse.
Exactly. Same things go for us.
In that case, we've come to an agreement. France is now officially the country of free people.
No incidents have occurred between the citizens. The third estate remained in charge, while the other two had to respect it. Louis XVI never returned to the country and no one heard from him. France later became a republic in which every estate had a say. It never went back to being a monarchy. A single event had changed its whole history.